Burnout Paradise was recorded and played on the Xbox One X. What game comes to mind when you think of fast-paced racing with a side of realistic car accidents and physics? I would say Burnout Paradise. Burnout Paradise was released on January 22nd, 2008 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. The game sold over 1 million copies in a matter of 3 months. Upon release, Burnout Paradise was well received amongst great gaming companies, from GamerRankings and Metacritic, showing an average rating of 88%. The game won multiple awards with Spike TV Game Trailers and GameSpot, all awarding it Best Driving Game of 2008. Reviewers have said that the game gives you an excellent sense of speed and open-world gameplay never seen in the Burnout series before. For its time, Burnout Paradise had a very large open world, and some would even say that it would feel a little daunting at first. The game is not all perfect though. Some reviewers were disappointed with some of the mechanics within the game. Some reviewers said that they did not like the fact that there was no option to restart a race or events, and that they would either have to fail the race or would have to stop the car entirely to be able to redo the race. Criterion, the makers of the game, did not feel like this was an issue, because they wanted to limit the amount of loading screens. Criterion also made it clear that they absolutely hate loading screens, so they wanted to limit the amount of time the player would have to wait. The option to restart an event was later added to the game via a free software update. Eurogamer found that DJ Atomica, the game's guide, to be instantly dislikable. Burnout Paradise was put on the list of Xbox One backwards compatible titles in November of 2016. There would later be a remaster version of Burnout Paradise that came out in 2018 and got similar praise. The game received a couple of awards, with Spike TV, Game Trailers, and GameSpot all awarding it Best Driving Game. So how did Burnout Paradise become the game that it was? The concept of Burnout Paradise was an idea that Alex Ward had with his experience with open-world games. He took inspiration from Crackdown, Test Drive Unlimited, and Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. He wanted to create this idea and release a game himself that would have the same type of open-world experience. My philosophy was that if me and you both played for 3 hours, we'd be doing different things. In an interview that was conducted in 2018, Alex Ward noted that the difficulty he had in convincing Electronic Arts to follow his vision. Alex Ward had a hard time convincing EA to create a game from his vision because they already had Need for Speed as their main racing platform. On December 13, 2007, for both PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, a demo was released for Burnout Paradise. Was the gameplay as good as all the reviewers had said? For the most part, yes. But there were a lot of problems that came up during gameplay in my experience. I will start off by talking about the graphics, because graphics are the most important thing to me, and the story, but because there is no story in this game, I will not be talking about that aspect of the game. The graphics weren't the greatest, and they weren't the worst either. There was a lot of pixelation around the cars when you zoomed in on them, which could get very distracting at points. The lighting in the game is terrible. I found myself getting in multiple car accidents just because the lighting was either too bright or the colors weren't saturated enough. I found myself getting very frustrated when I kept on crashing just because I could not see where to go. The music is pretty good in this game. You mostly have rock music in the game, and some electronic music. I did notice that most of the music was from lesser-known bands. The only 2 bands I recognized were Guns N' Roses and Alice in Chains. A lot of the music, in my opinion, was not very good. It all sounded the same to me. They should have had more variety. The sound effects were very well done. The sound of the cars are just right, and even the sound of the slow motion when you crash was great as well. The volume is very well balanced throughout the entire game. The controls were very easy to get used to, and were very simple. There is no way to change the control type, but in my opinion, the controls are just fine the way they are. The controls for the cars were very realistic. For the more sporty cars that were meant for racing, it was much more snappy. For the muscle cars that are meant for speed were harder to control, but it made sense and made the cars feel more realistic to drive. This is quite a long game, and it took me a very long time to finish the game. There were a lot of races to do in this game, and almost every single intersection has an option to start a race. With many races that were offered, there was also a lot of downloadable content. Most of the DLCs offer more options for more cars, like the Legendary Cars pack, which features cars inspired by famous vehicles from film and television, like the Jensen P1-1288 Special, based off of the DeLorean from Back to the Future films. They also had other DLCs for cars, for toys, police cars, off-road cars, etc. As far as I can tell in my gameplay, most of these DLCs are no longer downloadable, which is a shame. The game does offer a lot of fun, for instance, unlocking cars, and a progression system is very well done. Just the fact that you have to track down certain cars and literally have to crash them makes it so much fun. You can change the paint through the cars, but there aren't as many options as I would like, but the paint jobs are nice, and it is fun to look through all of the different types of colors you can get. This is the part of the review where I tell you my opinion and what they could have done better, and what they did perfectly fine. I will start off with the negatives. As far as gameplay goes, it is perfectly fine, but I do have a couple negatives. For instance, the lighting is not very well done. It's always bright, and that bothers me because you can't see as well. And it feels like a lot of the map is on a grayscale, which means that I feel like the colors are not saturated enough. I always found myself crashing and made the game infuriating. The only other negative that I have is the fact that the game narrator, DJ Atomica, is very annoying. All the times where I was getting annoyed with the gameplay because I was losing races, the narrator would come up and be condescending by saying, "You should know how to race," and at some points, I actually quit the game because I was getting so frustrated. I would have preferred that the voice not be in the game at all. The music selection was not very good either. The parts of the game that I did like included the fact that you can crash your car in such a realistic manner. To me, it's just so satisfying to drive at top speed and crash to see how much damage your car could take. I also liked how fast some of the cars could go. It was satisfying, especially in a muscle car, to be in last place and then get enough boost to use fully and just speed past all the other drivers and win. In my personal opinion, I don't think I would really play this game again anymore, just because of the fact that a lot of the races are a lot similar to each other. I also noticed that I was only able to play the game for like 3 hours at a time, just because by the end of that, I get so frustrated with crashing so much. The only reason why I would replay this game is to either play with a friend or to experience the physics in the car accidents. But for some reason the car accidents just seem really satisfying, and I don't know why. But was this game worth playing in the end? I would say yes. I say yes because the positives outweigh the negatives. Yes, I would crash because the lighting wasn't good, but I would have fun racing in the game at top speeds. Was the music terrible? Yes, it was. But those few songs that were really good and did enhance the racing and the high-octane action. So what would be the rating for this game? I'm going to give this game a 7.5 out of 10. The controls were great, and it was a lot of fun to play. Yes, the music wasn't very good, and the graphics weren't great either. And I'm a big fan of graphics. And the content was very expansive. And that is how I came to the number of 7.5 out of 10. Thank you to all who spent their time watching my video. This was my first video that I really tried hard to make, and I hope to continue this strategy for my future videos. The next game I will review is the first Injustice game, and I'm all about the superheroes, so the next one might be a little nerdy. Thank you all, and see you next time.